Hello, my name is Jack Perrin. I'm the director of Gorge Makerspace. I'm here with my daughter Sylvia, and what are we going to do today?
We're going to make a birdhouse.
So what I always tell my students is you can use any tool as long as you've been trained on that tool. So Sylvia and I both have received training on how to use these tools. We've been checked off. If you are new to a tool, if you're using a saw for the first time, make sure you learn how to use it first before you cut the wood.
Okay, so in this project, we're going to be using 2 drills with different drill bits. And these are cordless drills. And again, me and my dad have both been trained on these. This one is for putting screws in, and this one is for making the holes that the screws will go in.
Great, and why don't I just mention a little bit, this is an unusual drill bit. It has a countersink on it. This is something that's really helpful to have. It keeps the wood from splitting when you drive the screws in. The hole that is going to be made will allow that head to sit into the wood without splitting the wood. I don't expect everybody to have one of those, so you can also make do with just a larger drill bit. You can use this to make countersink holes. This drill bit would only be used for the very top of your screw. So you only drive this in, you only drill this in just maybe 1/4 of an inch. It's just to allow the head on this screw to sit into the wood. And then we have a couple of drill bits down here for making the entrance hole on our birdhouse. Do you want to show those 2 drill bits?
Sure. This is like one you'll probably have in your house. It's just got like a flat head.
It's called a paddle bit.
And then this is one that we have in the makerspace, and it's a little bit fancier, but it essentially does the same thing.
And this one's called a Forstner bit.
And you'll probably have a paddle drill bit if you have either one of these. But if not, you can always stop by the makerspace to get any tools you need.
So our first step is to take a look at our wood. And if you look in the instructions, you'll see a diagram of each piece. It has them listed as well as their dimensions. We're using recycled wood for this project. We're doing this project in collaboration with the Rebuild It Center. So these are pieces of wood that we got from the Rebuild It Center in Hood River. And our first step is to look at the wood and determine if it has a bad end, because we're going to measure from one end. And so the first thing I do is I look at this piece of wood, and I might even check it to see if it's square. So this is a square. I'm going to hold it up to the piece of wood, and oh, I lucked out. It's already square, so I don't have to change any of that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a tape measure, and I'm using a rather large marker here, just because this wood is kind of old and dirty. The first measurement we're going to make for this birdhouse is we're going to measure 14 inches. So my tape measure gets hooked onto the edge of the board, and then with my Sharpie, I'm going to make a mark right at 14. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is take my square, and I want to just draw a very straight line on there so I know where to cut. And so now we're ready to cut this piece. We have it measured, we have it marked. The next thing to do is to stabilize the piece of wood on the table so it doesn't move while I'm sawing it. Could you go and grab me a couple of clamps, and we'll clamp this to the table? So I'm going to clamp this to the table. Part of the wood's going to be hanging over the edge of the table. Go ahead and put one on, and I'll put the other one on. These are very nice clamps to use because they are, you can actually use them with just one hand. It doesn't take both hands to clamp them. So we'll just put these clamps on here so the board doesn't move around while I'm sawing. Okay, so I'm going to take the larger saw just because I'm more comfortable with the larger saw. The smaller one would work just fine. It would just take a little bit longer. And what you're going to do is you're going to start by putting your saw on the mark, and then very slowly, I'm bracing myself with my left hand. I'm conscientious of where my body position is, so I'm over the board, and I'm just going to draw the saw towards me a few times to get a groove or to get a notch started in the board. Now, if you were doing very, very extremely fine woodwork, you'd actually pay attention to, am I cutting on the line or to the left of the line? So technically I'm cutting a little bit to the left of the line, but we're not doing fine carpentry here, so you don't have to worry about that. So once I have that groove, then I'm going to begin sawing. So this is recycled wood, and it's got a lot of character. We got this at the Rebuild It Center. This is wood that we don't know if it was extra from a job, where it came from, but it's getting a second life now by doing this project, and it's going to be beautiful. Okay. We finished cutting all our pieces. So here's our top piece. We have a couple side pieces. We have our front, and we have our back, and then finally our bottom piece. Oh, let's not forget the hole. So this is a hole that will go on the front of the birdhouse. Okay, now that we have all our parts cut, it's time to put it together. So we will be using a power tool. So Sylvia, would you mind going and getting a couple of safety glasses? It's important to have eye protection anytime you're using a power tool. And Sylvia, while you're out there, would you please get the glue? We're going to be gluing this together as well to add to the strength of the screws. Thank you. Thank you. So we are using 2 drills. You may not have 2 drills. Today we're using 2 drills just for speed and convenience, so we don't have to change the bit each time. So I think what we should do on this, Sylvia, is I think we should put the bottom, let's put all these parts aside except for the ones that we want to use for this first cut. And I've chosen to make sure that the rough side is on the outside so it looks consistent. So I think we should begin by putting the back on. Okay. Gonna work for you? So what I'm gonna need your help with is let's work from the back side of it, and let's have you help me hold this up while I screw it. So if you can hold on to that. We're gonna face the rough side is gonna be facing forward because that's the side people will see, and we actually like the rough look. And we're gonna line this up, and we're gonna check the corners. We're gonna make sure everything is what they call flush. Okay? And so the first tool we're going to be using is our drill bit with the countersink on it. I'm about 1 inch from the bottom, and I'm going to put a hole in. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to have Sylvia put the screw in because the holes are nicely lined up right now. So we want to take advantage of that and have her go. Oh, I forgot to put the glue on, right? So I think you should glue this. Glue is sometimes stronger than nails, and especially because this wood could use a little support. So any kind of wood glue, it's nice if it's exterior so it'll last longer. So just put a nice bead of glue right down the edge of it. Okay? And now we're ready to put that first screw in. And I'm going to have to make sure that I'm flush again so that Sylvia can find the hole in both pieces of wood. Now Sylvia, you know from using this drill, if it's not going in, what's wrong with your drill?
It's in reverse.
Yeah, so she'll make sure she's got it in the right direction. Oh, I didn't even plan that, but yeah, it's in reverse, so go ahead and switch it. And then it's nice to give your friend a helping hand. You can one person can push on the top. Great. So we have our first screw in, we can kind of relax, it's not going to fall down yet, but let's put another screw in just to secure that. So let's put the second screw in this piece so it's secure. I'm going to come about 1 inch down from the top, maybe 1.5 inches, because we do have this angle, this wood that's tapering down. I don't want to come through that. And I didn't mention before, but I want to try to hit the middle of this board. So officially, these boards are 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm coming half that distance in from the edge, which would be 3/8 of an inch, so that I'm hitting the middle of this board right here. And that's ready for a screw. And I noticed something, Sylvia. Can you check and see if your drill is on fast or slow? So notice it's on number 2. Yeah, why don't you switch it to slow? That'll make it a little bit easier for us to control the speed at which it goes in, because we don't want to split this wood. Yeah, you go ahead, I'm ready. Okay, so let's continue down the other side. Again, I'm moving 1 inch from the bottom, and I'm 3/8 of an inch in from the side. It's ready for a screw. So now that we have the two sides on, let's work on the front of the birdhouse. And here's our front piece. You'll know it by there, it has a slight angle on it. To prepare this piece to go on, before we attach this piece, there's two things we should do to it. We should put the hole in it, and we should also rough up the insides. That'll give the birds some traction for them to climb in and out of this birdhouse. So would you grab the saw? And I'll also need, how about a tape measure and a marker too. This is a very inexact cutting procedure. In other words, we don't really care where and how you cut or how deep. We're just going to try to score this a little bit so that the birds have a little bit of purchase when they climb in and out of the birdhouse. So I'm just simply scoring this, just giving something for their little legs to grab onto so they can easily climb up and down the birdhouse and get to the exit hole. It's like a little ladder for the birds to climb up and out of the birdhouse with. And so this is on the inside. You can see I'm keeping the rough on the outside, so this is for the birds while they're inside to get in and out of the birdhouse. Okay, great. We're gonna mark the hole next, and the hole is 1 1/8 inches from the top of our front. So I make a mark at 1 1/8 inches. It doesn't matter that it's in the center, but it will look nicer if it's in the center. This board is 5 1/4 inches wide, so I'm going to take half of that, which would be 2 5/8, and I'm just going to put a little X right where I want to drill the hole. I've asked Sylvia to bring over a spare piece of wood. This is so that I can drill the hole and go through this piece of wood without damaging my table underneath. And I'm going to choose to use this Forstner bit. It's not going to chew up the wood so quickly. It's a little gentler drill bit. You want to go ahead and change bits for me?
Sure.
Great, and then I could probably use a little help here by you can push down on the top a little bit, and that'll make sure I get a little more force on there. Okay, I think we're through. Great. The other nice thing about using a backer board, is what this is called, is we didn't break or cause a lot of splinters on the inside of this piece. So I think we're ready to put this on. So let's see, you want to put your screwdriver bit back in there, and I'll get this set up. So we're, again, just paying attention to the sides. The wood is flush, so when you run your finger over the sides, you want to feel that it's not hanging over the edge at all. And we're going to use 2 drills again. We're using 2 drills for convenience. We're going to start by putting our hole in first. Let's see, so I'll put this hole in first. And then Sylvia, if you would just put a screw in there. That's funny, it's not going in. Yeah, reverse. Great. And let's put another on the bottom here, it'll stabilize things. Awesome. Great. Let's put one more on the top. We put that one a little bit too close to the edge. We want it to be 1 inch up from the bottom. Okay, great. So now we'll put a couple screws in the top. Again, I'm putting it about 1 inch from the top. These are not exact measurements. And I'll just do both of them so that you don't have to interrupt your work. And we'll finish by putting the bottom and the top on. So you're going to notice on this bottom piece that it doesn't fit exactly. We're using old wood, and this wood has a lot of character to it. And it does make woodworking a little bit more challenging. I chose to just cut this piece a little bit too small. There are some gaps here, but we want those gaps in there. Those are going to provide some drainage if it gets wet inside there. So that'll let some of the water just drain right out of our birdhouse. Okay, so we're going to put screws on the side, and again, we want to be 3/8 of an inch in from the edge of our board, and I'm coming about an inch in from the side of my board. Now on these, Sylvia, go really slowly, because on these, we've got a situation here where the board's not sitting right up against that. So if you drive that screw in all the way, it's probably going to split the board. So just go real easy at the end. And you can put it. Yep, just keep pulsing. That's great. You could give it another shot if you want to, but I think that's good for now. It's not flush against the bottom. We've left a hole there for water to drain out of. That's awesome. Great. And by not going too far, we've prevented splitting the wood. So one thing that this birdhouse does not have is it does not have a peg or a roost in front of this. Contrary to popular belief, birds do not require a peg. In fact, a peg or a roost is detrimental because it gives other predators and vermin a way to it's easier for them to get into the hole. Okay, so let's put the roof on. This piece of wood has been cut at an angle, both on the top and the bottom, as is the front piece as well. And this allows it to fit flush up against our back and our front piece. Okay, so how about we put one in right there to start with? It's the easiest to reach. And again, when you get to the end, don't go all the way in, because the board is a little bit warped and it might split it. And let's put one more in right here. So this is our finished birdhouse, and just I want to point out some of the detail work on this. Again, remember, we are putting our screws an inch from the ends and 3/8 of an inch from the edges of them. We put 2 on each side here. On the back, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. They're spaced approximately 3 to 4 inches apart. It's not an exact formula. Along the top here, there's 3 holes. It looks like down here we have 1, 2 in the bottom, 2 on the bottom of the side. Again, these are about an inch in from the sides, 3/8 of an inch up. On this side, we've matched that with 2 on the side. So the last detail on this is it has a sort of a collar in front of it. We've taken our collar, which has the same size hole as the hole in the front of our birdhouse. We're going to glue it to the front of it. We're going to make sure that those holes line up exactly. That's going to provide a deeper hole, discouraging predators from getting into this birdhouse. I'm not going to use screws here because I would probably split this small piece of wood. So I've just put a liberal amount of glue on it, and then I'm just taking any heavy object and just setting it on here. I'll come back in an hour and take that off.
So we chose this hole like specifically for smaller birds like songbirds or like sparrows or juncos or thrushes, and they can all come and live in your birdhouse.
So that's our birdhouse. It is more fun to build things with other people. The spirit of the makerspace is bringing people together to collaborate and to build things in community. So I invite you all to learn about the makerspace, take a look at our schedule, and come in here and make something with other people and just participate in the camaraderie of working on things together.
Thanks for watching, and have fun making your birdhouse.